Rising tensions in Israel as tourists are targeted in a terror attack. British tourists are among the wounded after a car was driven into a crowd in Tel Aviv, a day after two British-Israeli sisters were shot dead in the West Bank. Also on the programme, Sturgeon talks for the first time since her husband's arrest.
The last few days have been obviously difficult, quite traumatic at times.
A 12-year-old boy appears in court charged with murdering a grandmother, and the everyday heroes who'll rub shoulders with royalty at the Coronation.
This is ITV News with Romilly Weeks.
Good afternoon. At least 5 British citizens have now been injured or killed in Israel and the West Bank this week as violence continues to spiral there. British victims have been confirmed among the injured after a car rammed into tourists in Tel Aviv. And that attack came just hours after the deaths of 2 British-Israeli women who were shot dead in the occupied West Bank. Ellie Pitt has the latest.
This car-turned-weapon was used to kill and injure tourists in Israel's coastal city Tel Aviv last night. Italian and British citizens were walking along the beach promenade at around 9:30 local time when the vehicle rammed into them, killing 1 and wounding 5 others. Israeli police shot dead the Palestinian assailant driving the car. Just hours earlier, another car was at the centre of a separate attack. This time, 2 British-Israeli sisters inside were shot and killed near an Israeli settlement in the West Bank. Their mother was seriously hurt and airlifted to hospital. This afternoon, the Minister for the Middle East tweeted, "I condemn yesterday's attacks in the West Bank, killing 2 British-Israeli nationals and injuring 1 other. My thoughts and prayers are with all those impacted." Violence has escalated in the region after Israeli police raided and evicted worshippers in the Al-Aqsa Mosque in East Jerusalem last week. The area has religious significance in both Judaism and Islam, and tensions are high as Jews celebrate Passover while Muslims mark the holy month of Ramadan. In response, 34 rockets were fired into Israel from Lebanon, the most in 17 years. Any potential damage from these, though, was blocked by Israel's Iron Dome defence system. But destruction was inflicted through Israel's retaliation, airstrikes on Lebanon and the Gaza Strip. The international community has called for an end to the violence and for all parties to promote calm during the ongoing religious holidays. Ellie Pitt, ITV News.
Sturgeon has spoken for the first time since her husband's arrest last week. Scotland's former First Minister has vowed to fully cooperate with the police investigation after officers raided their Glasgow home. Our political correspondent Tom Sheldrake joins me now. Tom, what did Sturgeon have to say?
She admitted the last few days have been difficult after her husband was arrested on Wednesday by police investigating the Scottish National Party's finances. Peter Murrell was the SNP's chief executive until last month. Sturgeon came out of their home this afternoon to ask journalists for privacy and made some other brief remarks.
Much as there are things I might want to say, I'm not able to do so, other than to say that, as has been the case, there will continue to be full cooperation. The last few days have been obviously difficult, quite traumatic at times, but I understand that is part of a process.
Sturgeon said that she has not been questioned by the police herself, would cooperate fully if they requested that, but also intends to get on with her life. Officers searched her and Mr Murrell's home in Glasgow for more than a day earlier this week. They're looking into the spending of around £600,000, which was earmarked for Scottish independence campaigning. Peter Murrell was released without charge, pending further investigation.
Tom, thank you. One of the youngest children to be charged with murder in the UK has been remanded into secure accommodation following a court appearance in Sheffield. The 12-year-old boy is charged with murder after a 60-year-old woman was hit by a car in the city on Wednesday. Matt Price was in court.
Yes, this 12-year-old boy appeared in court here in Sheffield today. He stood in a glass-fronted dock and was flanked by 2 security officers for the brief hearing. He is so young that rules prevent us naming him, but he's thought to be one of the youngest people to be charged with murder in the UK. Now, his appearance in court follows the death of Marcia Grant in Sheffield, who was hit by a car on Wednesday evening and sadly died at the scene. This is a tragedy which has affected the community, affected Marcia's family so deeply, understandably too. In a statement, they've described the 60-year-old as a warm, loving and dedicated wife, mother, grandmother, sister and friend, and a pillar of the community. They have asked for privacy while they try to come to terms with the devastating loss. The 12-year-old boy is also charged with possessing a bladed article and has been remanded into secure accommodation and will appear in court again next week.
Matt Price reporting there from Sheffield. In sport, Manchester United have strengthened their grip on a Champions League place for next season. United beat Everton 2-0 at Old Trafford with goals from Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial. It takes them up to 3rd place while Everton remain in relegation trouble. Finally tonight, it's not long to go until the King's coronation, and we're finding out more about who's invited, and it may not be who you'd expect. The palace says nearly half of the 2,000 guests will be charity workers and everyday heroes. Layla Hayes has been to meet some of them.
It's just 4 weeks until the King's coronation, and details of the guests are now being revealed. Among them, 850 community and charity workers from across the UK.
I'm using chickpeas, which I've cooked.
Chef Manju Mali received a British Empire Medal for her work teaching cookery online during the pandemic. She thought her invite was a hoax.
I got an email, which was bizarre. I thought it would be an embossed letter through the post. And I left it, but there was a deadline to respond to the invite. And they emailed me saying, do you want to come or not? And then I said, oh gosh, of course, yes, that's it. And that's how I found out about it.
The coronation will take place here at Westminster Abbey on May the 6th. And in a break with tradition, there will be less space for dignitaries and heads of state. Instead, hundreds of community heroes will be here for a more inclusive affair.
As a 15-year-old with leukemia, Sahil Usman spent lockdown delivering hampers to residents in Blackburn. He's now also been invited to the coronation.
A proud moment because it's like I've been recognised for all the work that I've done, but that's motivating me now to do more.
It's been 70 years since the Queen's coronation, and though much of the pomp and ceremony will remain, it's clear the King wants to do things his way. Layla Hayes, ITV News.
And that's it for now. I'll be back with the late news at 10 to 11. Have a great evening.